So Hare Krishna everybody, welcome. Today we'll be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 3, Text 21. Varaha param pata kirita justam api utamangam namin mukundam Shavo karo no kurute saparyam Hare lasat kanchana kankano va Word for word, Varaha, a great burden, Param, heavy, Pata, silk, Kirita, turban, Jushtam, dressed with, Api, even, Uttama, upper, Angam, parts of the body, Na, never, Namet, bow down, Mukundam, Lord Krishna, the deliverer, Shavo, dead bodies, Karo, hands, No, do not, Kurute, do, Saparyam, worshipping, Hare, of the personality of Godhead, Lasat, glittering, Kanchana, made of gold, Kankano, bangles, Va, even though. So translation by Srila Prabhupada. The upper portion of the body, though crowned with a silk turban, is only a heavy burden if not bowed down before the personality of Godhead, who can award mukti, or freedom. And the hands, though decorated with glittering bangles, are like those of a dead man if not engaged in the service of the personality of Godhead, Hari. Please repeat. The upper portion of the body, though crowned with the silk turban, is only a heavy burden if not bowed down before the personality of Godhead, who can award mukti or freedom. And the hands, though decorated with glittering bangles, are like those of a dead man if not engaged in the service of the personality of Godhead, Hari. So it's a very long purport. So as stated herein before, there are three kinds of devotees of the Lord. The first class devotee does not at all see anyone who is not in the service of the Lord. But the second class devotee makes distinctions between devotees and non-devotees. The second class devotees are therefore meant for preaching work, and as referred to in the above verse, they must loudly preach the glories of the Lord. The second class devotee accepts disciples from the section of third class devotees or non-devotees. Sometimes the first class devotee also comes down to the category of the second class devotee for preaching work. But the common man who is expected to become at least a third class devotee is advised herein to visit the temple of the Lord and bow down before the deity, even though he may be a very rich man or even a king with a silk turban or crown. The Lord is the Lord of everyone, including the great kings and emperors, and men who are rich in the estimation of mundane people must therefore make it a point to visit the temple of Lord Sri Krishna and regularly bow down before the deity. The Lord in the temple, in the worshipable form, is never to be considered to be made of stone or wood, for the Lord in his archer incarnation as the deity in the temple shows immense favor to the fallen souls by his auspicious presence. By the hearing process, as mentioned herein before, this realization of the presence of the Lord in the temple is made possible. As such, the first process in the routine work of devotional service, hearing, is the essential point. Hearing by all classes of devotees from the authentic sources like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam is essential. The common man who is puffed up with his material position and does not bow down before the deity of the Lord in the temple, or who defies temple worship without any knowledge of the science, must know that his so-called turban or crown will only succeed in further drowning him in the water of the ocean of material existence. A drowning man with a heavy weight on his head is sure to go down more swiftly than those who have no heavy weight. A foolish, puffed up man defies the science of God and says that God has no meaning for him. But when he is in the grip of God's law and is caught by some disease like cerebral thrombosis, that godless man sinks into the ocean of nations by the weight of his material acquisition. Advancement of material science without God consciousness is a heavy load on the head of human society, and so one must take heed of this great warning. The common man, if he has no time to worship the Lord, may at least engage his hands for a few seconds in washing or sweeping the Lord's temple. Maharaj Prataparudra, the great powerful king of Orissa, was always very busy with heavy state responsibilities, yet he made it a point to sweep the temple of Lord Jagannath at Puri once a year during the festival of the Lord. The idea is that however important a man one may be, he must accept the supremacy of the Supreme Lord. This God consciousness will help a man even in his material prosperity. Maharaj Prataparudra's subordination before Lord Jagannath made him a powerful king, so much so that even the great Patan in his time could not enter into Orissa on account of the powerful Maharaj Prataparudra. And at last Maharaj Prataparudra was graced by Lord Sri Chaitanya on the very grounds of his acceptance of subordination to the Lord of the universe. So even though a rich man's wife has glittering bangles made of gold on her hands, she must engage herself in rendering service to the Lord. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasad Bhutale Srimati Bhai Krishna Goswami Namahe. Nama Om Krishna Prabhupada Sudhita Sudhini Sabham Tase Akhani Adini. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasad Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namahe. Namaste Saraswati Devi. So Hare Krishna. So we'll speak on what we have read also from Prabhupada's purport and his books, and what we have heard from his disciples and grand disciples. So this process of Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada has mentioned many points in this purport. One of them is hearing. So the stress is given on hearing. By hearing we can get conviction of like the presence of the Lord in the deity form. So in the Christian culture they were criticized. There were some followers who were worshipping an idol of a cow because it was a concocted idea. So that idol worship is very different from the temple worship in Vedic culture, because the deities are carved according to authorized scriptures. There's detailed descriptions of how the Lord's eyes are, his form, his size, his shape. So everything is there. And when the pure devotees of the Lord invoke the presence of the Lord through mantras, Krishna is so kind that he accepts the worship of his devotees through the form of his deity. So we can engage our physical senses, our eyes in seeing the beautiful form of the Lord, our hands in making garlands, in sewing for the Lord, and making gimmicks, like Prabhu is making gimmicks for the Lord, and cooking and sewing. Everything can be engaged in the service of the Lord. Our legs can be engaged in walking to the temple. So this hearing process is very important, because just like Krishna's one of his wives, Rukmini, she was a princess, and she didn't meet Krishna, but she heard about him from all the different visiting sages, because whenever holy sages and holy people would visit the kingdom, the kings were very pious in those days, so they would welcome them and worship them, and they would inquire from them about the higher purpose of life. So they would inquire about Krishna and their relationship with him and service to the holy people. So only by hearing about Krishna, she fell in love with Krishna, and she gave her whole heart to Krishna. So just like in a relationship where there's husband and wife, where is the question of love if we don't hear about the person, about their qualities? So hearing is the number one key to any relationship, and that's why we have 2 ears and we have 1 mouth. So hearing is more important. We need to listen more, and then we can speak and chant the glories of the Lord. So there's a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada has written many books. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 9, Text 11, which is Brahma's prayers for creative energy, he's praying to Krishna. He's saying, "Oh my Lord, your devotees can see you through the ears by the process of bona fide hearing, and thus their hearts become cleansed, and you take your seat there. You are so merciful to your devotees that you manifest yourself in the particular eternal form of transcendence in which they always think of you." So we understand the basic principles in Bhagavad Gita, that we are a spirit soul, and just like the tree is also a spirit soul, but it's covered by a tree body, and we are covered in a human body, and we also have different variations. Like I'm in a female Indian body, someone is in a baby body, someone is in a male body, like that. So different bodies we have, but we all spirit souls. So on the spiritual level, on the soul level, we all equal. But because we have a material covering, a material body, then we are functioning in this world, and we act on a different level. But we should always understand that we always need to see everyone equally as a soul connected to Krishna. So in this verse, Prabhupada mentions about if the head, which has a beautiful silk turban and a heavy crown, if it's not used to come to the temple and bow down before the deity, then it becomes a heavy weight, a burden on someone. And when someone has a heavy burden, when they're swimming in the ocean, then they will go down quicker than someone who doesn't have a weight. So there's an English saying which is, pride comes before the fall. So we think in the material world that we're very amazing and so powerful. We've created amazing skyscrapers and planes that are so heavy, yet they can fly in the air, and many things that scientists have created. But then where does that intelligence come from? It comes from Krishna. So if we think that we are the doer and God is just there and I'm the one who's achieved this, and I'm the doer of everything, then we're not giving credit to the one who has given us that intelligence. So we should always understand that we are the agents of the Lord and his representatives, and we are acting under their guidance. So Srila Prabhupada has come and he's given us these teachings, and he has taken shelter of his spiritual master, and his spiritual master has taken shelter and guidance from his spiritual master, and then it goes up in the disciplic chain going directly to Krishna. So the knowledge is coming from Krishna, descending down through all the teachers, the acharyas, and they understand that they are servants of the Lord, and that by the blessings of their teachers, their guides and their spiritual masters, they are presenting this knowledge so that they can be a representative of the Lord and bring the fallen conditioned souls to the lotus feet of Krishna and their spiritual masters. So this is our process. It's not that we jump from one level to another. We always follow the disciplic chain, and we always understand that we are the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. So Prabhupada in the beginning mentions there's 3 types or 3 classes of devotees. So the first class is the one who sees, who doesn't see any difference between everyone. So that devotee is on a very high platform. Anything that goes on, even if someone is doing the most abominable act, they seeing that they're all acting under the law of Krishna. Even the material energy is under Krishna's jurisdiction. And then the second class devotee is the one who distinguishes between a devotee and a non-devotee. Just like us, we engaging in the world, and a crazy person comes here and they wielding an axe. We're not going to treat them equally than someone who's our friend. So a second class devotee distinguishes because he sees someone who's favorable to hearing about God, hearing about Krishna, hearing about who they are, what their purpose is in life, what their connection is with God, and how to go back home, back to the spiritual world and serve Krishna and his devotees eternally. So that distinction is made there. And he also respects the non-devotee, but he keeps his distance, because that person, if that person is inimical to the Lord, if that devotee approaches them, they will become offensive, and actually they will become even more, they will glide down more in the material world, and it will be very long time. It will take a very long time for them to come up to the stage of even wanting to hear about God. So we just, Prabhupada says, we just feed them prasadam and we expose them to the holy names of the Lord. So that's why devotees, we see sometimes they go out in the streets and they chant the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. And by this hearing process, because the sound vibration is pure, it's descending from the spiritual world, it purifies and cleanses our heart and mind. And by eating prasadam, which is blessed food, blessed vegetarian food that's offered to the Lord, then when we eat that sanctified food, when we honor that prasadam, the blessed food, then our consciousness also becomes purified, and that will open up our heart to hear more about the Lord and to serve the Lord and his devotees. And there's a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada mentions, it's 3:15-21, where it says the Vaikuntha planets are above the heavenly planets. So the heavenly planets are part of the material realm, but above that we have the spiritual atmosphere. So we have planets called the Vaikuntha planets, and in those planets there's I'll just read this translation that Prabhupada says in this verse. The ladies in the Vaikuntha planets are as beautiful as the goddess of fortune herself. Such transcendently beautiful ladies, their hands playing with lotuses and their leg bangs tinkling, are sometimes seen sweeping the marble walls, which are bedecked at intervals with golden borders in order to receive the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it's talking here about humble menial service attracts the mercy and grace of the Lord. So in the spiritual world, actually there's no dust, there's no dirt, but we follow in the footsteps. It's not that we imitate the great devotees, but we follow in their footsteps. So these ladies, they have attained the spiritual kingdom, and they are cleaning the marble walls, and they are so beautiful as the goddess of fortune, who is the consort of Lord Vishnu, the wife, and they are cleaning the walls of the marble buildings to gain the favor and grace of the Lord. So what is that telling us? That someone who's so wealthy and so rich, that they are doing it, and we think we are so great that we don't want to do humble menial service. So we should always follow in the footsteps of these great personalities, because sometimes because we live in the material world and we think someone who does a cleaning job or who sweeps the street, like in India there is street sweepers and they are considered lower class, but actually in the spiritual world is the opposite. The servant of the servant is in a higher position, because they are getting so much, they're relishing so much the service of serving the devotees who are serving the Lord. Just like in deity worship, when there's devotees making garlands, devotees cleaning the temple, cleaning the paraphernalia. So by assisting the devotees who are worshipping the Lord, actually it's inconceivable, and it's a transcendental exchange, that by assisting the devotees who are serving the Lord directly, you're actually gaining even more pleasure and more. It's a transcendental pleasure. It's not like I'm doing it because I want to enjoy, but that pleasure and enjoyment comes just by serving the devotees and doing humble menial service for the Lord. So we understand that we are spirit soul and Krishna is also within our heart. So someone may question, in the Srimad Bhagavatam 226 purport, Prabhupada mentions there that people might say Krishna is everywhere, so why go to the temple? Because even we have devotees who have an altar at home, they worship the Lord at home, they offer their food, they're also chanting at home. So everything that's going on at the temple is also going on in the homes of the devotees whose lives are dedicated to service of the Lord. So here it says, to search out the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we need not go anywhere else, because the Lord is within our hearts. This does not suggest, however, that we should not go to the places of worship, namely the temples, churches, and mosques. Such holy places of worship are also occupied by the Lord, because the Lord is omnipresent. For the common man, these holy places are centers of learning about the science of God. So we come and we hear about the Lord in the association of devotees, because that's another powerful key factor, is the hearing process and hearing in the association of devotees. So, and also in Srimad Bhagavatam 3:4-30 purport, it says, take shelter of a recognized temple of the Lord. One who is transcendentally advanced can gain direct inspiration from the temple deity, and thus a devotee of the Lord always takes shelter of a recognized temple of the Lord in order to make tangible advancement in transcendental knowledge by the grace of the Lord. So we have our temples and we have our worship at home, and sometimes devotees get caught up in their work and taking care of their children, getting them ready for school, and also giving fun engagement for the children, some recreation. But we should make it a point that we give the children the experience of being at the temple and what it is to be at the temple. Because Srila Prabhupada has worked so hard, he's shed blood, sweat and tears to bring about this ISKCON centers all over the world, and they are like embassies in the spiritual world. Like in the material world, in a country we go, for example, we go to India and there's an Australian embassy, and we can take shelter of that Australian embassy if we are Australians, and we can get the same benefit as if we were in Australia. So the temple is like that. The temple, we are in this material world, but it's an embassy of the spiritual world. So the potency of the spiritual world is within the temple, so even within the temple of a home. But at the same time, Srila Prabhupada has given us this process. He's given us the morning program, he's given us Srimad Bhagavatam class, Guru Puja, and all these programs. So if the children are not coming regularly to the temple, even they're so busy, but make it a point that at least come once a week or once a month, or get together with other parents in the community. Just like we have devotees in our community, Krishna Bhavana and Deva Gaurahari Prabhu, who they run the Lucid restaurant in town. So a few years ago, they were getting the high school children to come over for the morning program, and Krishna Bhavana would make dosa and idli, and they would come for the full morning program, participate in the Guru Puja, and then they would have their little class or discussions separately that is catered for their group. And so they would get that experience of what Prabhupada has given us, this program. So we need to obviously make some adjustments, make it fun for the children, make it attractive, but we need to cater for all the different age groups. Bring them to the temple, or like Prabhupada mentions in one of the purports, like when they come to the temple, we see some temples, the children are sitting in class, even the little children, and they are doing coloring in of some Krishna pictures, some Krishna books. So even though they are not fully understanding the vibration of these holy scriptures and hearing about Krishna, something will stick in their heart and their mind. And those positive, happy experiences that they have connected to the temple, so when they grow up, they will think, okay, the temple is not just here where we come sometimes for festival or Sunday feast, we have prasadam, we socialize with our friends, which is a good thing, we do socialize, but that aspect of coming inside the temple room, hearing the messages of Krishna in the association of devotees, participating in the Guru Puja, participating in the dancing together with other devotees is very powerful. And then they'll get the taste for it. If the children are not coming, and if they don't see the adults close to them, their teachers, their parents, their uncles, aunts, friends and friends' parents, if they don't see them coming to the temple and engaging in service, Prabhupada mentions here, it takes a few seconds to clean the temple and mop the floor. So, I mean, practically speaking, it maybe takes a few extra minutes, but if 5 children come, 5 parents come, it will take literally a few seconds. Or little children, it's fun for them. Make it fun for them. There's mats, we have brown mats and we have white mats. Okay, kids, let's see who can get the most mats. Okay, we divide the children in a group. Okay, whoever gets the brown mats first will get a burfi or something. You know, we can do something to trick them to do devotional service, make it fun for them, and those who get the white mats. So they are doing devotional service and organizing the mats, but they're having fun. So we need to also be creative. They need to see us adults actually having fun, doing also menial service for the Lord. So we also come to the temple. It's not that we just only come, we bow down, and then we sing a little bit, and you know, that is very powerful in itself, but we need to also do something more so they can see that, okay, we could, because externally they are seeing and sometimes they're not hearing that the process. So if they're seeing the adults are not doing that, if they're seeing the adults while class is going on, socializing outside, and then just having prasadam and going or not picking up the mats, what impression, what lesson are they getting? So just by even a little thing like after class, okay, come for class, then socialize during prasadam, and then you know, when the class is finished, pick up the mat and put it there. It doesn't take much to do even a little thing like that. Or, you know, get together we have picnics and things like that, but what about doing some picnic at the temple? Organize families together, maybe once a month or once in 6 months. Okay, let's have a fun picnic. We're all going to go to the temple. We're going to clean the temple, and then we're going to do some kirtan. We're going to go for some nice harinam around the farm, and we can pick flowers. Some people can pick flowers. Some kids with the adults can pick flowers for the deities' garlands. We can make some extra garlands for the Lord. You know, it doesn't have to be only festival time. It can be some nice outing. Make it fun for the children. So the temple is very much part of what Srila Prabhupada has given us. Yes, due to COVID, the temple is within the house as well. But we also have that connection with the temple that Srila Prabhupada has established. So we as adults have that responsibility to actually go out of our comfort zone, make an extra endeavor. Yes, we have work commitments, school commitments, taking care of the children, and all that can be overwhelming. But by doing something that is a bit of a sacrifice, a bit of a austerity, okay, it's a bit of an endeavor, you know, I have to get my kids ready, I have to organize my schedule, but even once in 2 months, families can get together and do things like this, and that is what is going to bring the children to take up this process seriously. Otherwise, it will just be kind of very surface practice. So, yeah, that's what we want to give our children, because they are going to carry this Krishna consciousness movement through to the future. And if they don't have that taste, and they're not doing, taking up responsibility, then there's no hope. So please forgive me if I have spoken anything that might, I'm speaking heavily also so that it also kind of sinks in for me, and how heavy a responsibility we have, that children growing up in the movement sometimes might not get the experience of someone who's new coming into the movement, because they have made the choice of joining it. They understand the value of what they've got. But sometimes when children are born in the movement, it might take an extra endeavor for parents and adults around to give them the taste for the good fortune that they have been born into. It's just like the example Prabhupada gives of a high court judge. The child of the high court judge, he has the same opportunity to become a high court judge, but he has to qualify himself. It's not that, okay, he has friends, the judge has his judge friends, and the children are getting together and then they're pretending to be a judge, but they have to qualify themselves, or they're doing the same things, or they're gaining that knowledge. They see how the judge, their father or uncles are giving judgment, and they're learning, like, okay, who's a thief and things like that. But if they don't go to the university and go through the due process, then they may hang around with their friends and saying, oh, I'm going to be a judge and we're going to play the judge, but they're not getting the full benefit because they haven't taken that torch, done the austerity. So we'll end there. If anyone has any questions or comments, corrections. Yes, Prabhu? I can repeat what you said. I can.
Okay. So, very nice you're encouraging devotees to come to the temple and bring their children as much as possible. And for the children, as you're pointing out, it's a wonderful impression that they get the mood of doing some service and getting a taste for service and just getting so much purification here to kind of show association with those, which is much more powerful in the temple than in their home environment. So But then Prabhupada also said in the third book that those who are spiritually advanced, something like those who are spiritually advanced, they go regularly to the temples, mosques and churches. So as we understand that, the path of bhakti, the path of Krishna consciousness is the topmost process of devotion to God. There's many other spiritual paths, and they're all different degrees, different levels of understanding and advancement. Other paths, whether it's Islam or Christianity, they may maybe not so advanced in the spiritual science. But is it maybe important for members of the Krishna consciousness movement to sometimes, occasionally visit these different places, attend, services in churches or mosques, just to show that we are respectful of their culture and their teachings, and to give the people of those different religious places some benefit of association of devotees as well. I mean, Srila Prabhupada also went to many religious churches, institutions, preaching. I mean, maybe, if we attend such places, we may not have so much opportunity to, directly preach like Srila Prabhupada did, but still you can meet people there, and, some of those people may ask questions, and maybe take prasad and share it. So what's your... I know your spiritual master, he's been he told me he'd been to the Hillsong, big Christian organisation, Hillsong in America. I don't know if you've been to other groups. Maybe you can shed some light on.
Yes, so Prabhu is mentioning how in the purport Prabhupada mentions that people should go to the temples, mosques and churches. So Prabhu's asking if devotees can go to these places and we can give association. I do know in Melbourne there's a Bhakta Das Prabhu who has the interfaith group. So they have different meetings. As far as I can only speak from the level of understanding that I have. So my spiritual master Bir Krishna Goswami, he has been, as you mentioned, to the Hillsong Church, and he goes there and because he said, they're singing the gospel and it's like so much fun, and he's getting ideas also to also have ideas of how we can also spread our Krishna consciousness movement. So it goes both ways. So people who are practicing also in churches and mosques and even the temple, we have people who are sincere. So when we go from, like for example, if someone comes from the church, then usually they would come and they would be invited. So it's just, for me, my understanding is we can only encourage and speak to someone, either one, we have a relationship with them, or they have come out of invitation, or they're open to it. So for devotees' lives, just by their practice, by their own how they engage outside in the material world, and how we're engaging with the laws of nature, like we're also following the laws of the land, we're driving on the left side of the road, we are following, we're also kind and things like that. Just by them seeing that and knowing that we are practitioners of the Hare Krishna movement, that will also give them, make them favorable towards devotees, and having the thought of favorable thought towards the devotees also opens up their heart. So it's not that also, yes, we do understand we have the highest process. We also have saints in Christianity and other cultures, like we have Saint Francis of Assisi, who was a vegetarian and who saw the birds and animals as his brothers. So it's going to the temples and mosques and churches. I don't have much experience. I'm not really a great preacher or anything like that, but my understanding would be if they have a facility like this where they can meet and they want to explore and learn about the culture, and there's a group that comes and interfaith and to learn to appreciate other cultures, then that's there. But to go into a community like my spiritual master, he did go there, but he didn't say, oh, I'm a Hare Krishna and you should chant Hare Krishna. He went there respectful of what they are doing, to get inspiration from what they are doing to apply it within the Krishna consciousness movement. So it so much depends on the consciousness, just like our whole process, everything depends on the consciousness and the mood with which we do it. So externally, two people may go, but one person is coming in a challenging mood, like, oh, we have the highest principle in that, and someone may come humbly and really appreciating what they are doing and saying, oh wow, that's amazing, we also do this in our temple or our mosque or our church. That for me personally would be more I would appreciate it more and be more open to hearing it from someone who also appreciates what I'm following. So the value is there, but it's more so in even just on an individual level how we interact in the world. Because we are in the world, we go to the shop, we do everything, and then we engaging with people from different faiths. So when they know we are Hare Krishnas, they become favorable. But then also the danger of that is that we need to also be strong in our own practice, and we need to also go in a group or have some purpose or goal in mind, because sometimes some people may go to a place and then they get influenced themselves and then they leave the process that they're following. So if any process that is genuinely followed, then we still need to be in the protection of the followers of that and apply the knowledge, apply the instructions of God, like the mosque, they have their Quran. The Muslims have their Quran, the churches, they have their Bible. So following, it says thou shalt not kill. That means not just not kill animals, not kill humans, but also not kill animals. So I think being going on a more individual level, I would say, because for me I'm just like insignificant person, I would see it more like being in the association of devotees and being strong and trying to cultivate that, and then go as a group with devotees, but also making sure that it's very clear the purpose why we are going, to appreciate and share the knowledge of God and not to convert and things like that. Yes?
Just to add to that, personally I've been to a few sort of church services, including Hillsong, and one thing I picked up there is that they're very organised and expert in looking after the children, like Sunday school groups. And even in Hillsong they had the children in different classrooms of different ages, and engaging the little children in singing the hymns with a microphone on a little stage, and reading little Christian stories. And seems like, we can learn things like that, how to engage the children more, which maybe we haven't mastered so much. And you gave the example of like Krishna Bhagavatam and Devi. It was nice that they, for some time, coming and engaging the children in temple services, and so it seems a very important thing to engage the children in, to attract them. Different ways, like, even, as you said, transcendentally trick them, incite them, and inspiring them through different means, whether they get some special milk sweets or whatever.
So Prabhu was bringing up the point of how he went to the Hillsong church and he saw how they're very organized, and they also have different classes for the different age groups for children. So and he was appreciating Krishna Bhavana and Devagora Hari Prabhu of what they did. So I think here also there is some discussions and some meetings where organizing rosters and organizing children's programs so that everything's covered and the children are engaged during Sunday feast. So it takes a community to do that. It's not the onus on just the people, a certain group of people or people living at the temple. It takes everyone's responsibility. It's not that, oh, I come to the temple and just give my child. Then also take turns to participate and contribute to the program. So in other temples like Melbourne, Sydney, I know Vaisheshika Prabhu's temple in ISKCON Silicon Valley, they have these programs. So the whole community comes together and contributes, takes turn like that. So it is there, but different communities also need to see that we need to come together and also contribute. That it's not just that a core group of devotees do everything from cooking to cleaning to looking after the children. So it's a community effort. So we have some examples of some temples, as I mentioned, like Melbourne and ISKCON Silicon Valley, which have the community members coming together, taking responsibility, taking turns, doing a roster system, taking turns cooking, having a children's program. Yeah. So thank you for that. Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna. Prabhupada ki jai.